Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a quintessential petty revenge story. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Rude customers don't deserve free stuff. I work at a small corner store in my town. Right now, we give out tickets to each customer per purchase. You can rip them open, and if you're lucky, you get one with a small prize. Nothing big, just a bottle of iced tea, a pack of gum, or something. The thing with those is that you can bend them a bit and see if they're winning tickets or not. I take some of them out every day and put them aside. Why is it important? Every day there's this guy coming in like 5 times a day to buy scratch tickets. The thing is, he's just rude. A jerk to everyone, basically throws the money on the counter while expecting to be served like a king. Once I brought out the trash, and right there he always hangs out drinking beer with his friends. Once they were there, and he just threw unnecessary rude comments at me for no reason, which makes me mad. So you can see I don't like him. At all. Or basically any employee from this store. Heard similar stories from them. Now, whenever he's coming in to buy something, he acts like a jerk as usual, and I give him one of the losing tickets on purpose. He won't get anything for free as long as he buys from me. And our second story. How my sister almost ended up homeless. I have a sister, Sarah. I grew up in a very small town in the rural South. Both our parents were absolute train wrecks. One could say our childhood was less than idyllic. I graduated from high school and immediately joined the Army. After serving 4 years, I was honorably discharged. I used the GI Bill, Service Member Education Benefit, to attend college where I earned a degree in engineering and where I met and married my wife. Sarah dropped out of school in her senior year, got married, and had a child. Over the next several years, she had 2 more children in separate attempts to keep her alcoholic husband, Paul. This story begins shortly after I'd finished college. After being away for nearly a decade, I took a job near my hometown where we bought our first house and settled down to raise our little family. There are a couple of facts that'll prove important later on. First, Sarah and her family were at the time living in a mobile home. They'd gotten the mobile home with the help of a relative who died sometime prior to the beginning of our story. They'd never been particularly diligent with their mobile home payments, so after several years, they had hardly reduced the principal at all. After the relative died, they stopped paying altogether, reasoning that since the borrower, the relative, was dead, the bank would simply forgive the loan. Amazingly, their reasoning was fundamentally flawed. Second, a week prior to where we'll begin, Sarah had been to visit our mother, Mama. It's a Southern thing. Sarah happened to show up as Mama was returning from the grocery store. She hadn't even taken the groceries from her car yet. Sarah, seeing the shopping bags, tells Mama that she was broke and couldn't afford food for her children. Mama, feeling sorry for the kids, let Sarah have her groceries. Sarah simply moved them from Mama's car to hers. Also important to the story is the fact that, unbeknownst to Sarah, Mama had passed the above information to me. Now the story. One Sunday in November several years ago, my wife and I were lying in bed enjoying the bright sunshine streaming through our bedroom windows when we heard tires on the gravel driveway. We weren't expecting anyone, so I went to the window to see who was visiting us so early on a Sunday. I saw Sarah, Paul, and their brood piling out of their beat-up minivan. I'd read enough vampire novels to know better, but I put on a robe, went to the door, and invited them inside. We made some coffee and engaged in a bit of small talk. Then Sarah said, "I want to ask a favor." Now, these folks never visited, and they certainly never sat around and chatted politely. They were rude, crude, and tattooed, so the request for a favor didn't surprise me. Also, knowing the bit of information I mentioned above, I was pretty sure what the favor was. As a matter of fact, as soon as I saw them pull up, I knew what they would ask. Sarah: "The guy who signed the loan on our trailers died and the bank won't take our money. They're going to repossess it and we won't have anywhere to live." Me: "You don't say. That's unfortunate." Sarah: "Yes, and I was wondering if you'd co-sign a loan to help us buy a new trailer. Paul makes plenty of money to pay for it, but the bank just won't let us pay them." "Have you looked into renting an apartment?" "Oh no, an apartment's way too small. I really can't take anything but a double wide. I need at least 4 bedrooms. "Ah, I see. Have you tried getting a government home?" "No, they won't let you make any changes or add on to them." At this point, I should probably mention that their current mobile home was a single wide with 3 tiny bedrooms and I'm pretty sure Paul didn't know one end of the hammer from the other. Me. Well, how much does a new mobile home like you need cost? Sarah. We've looked at one that's only $72,000. Me. Ah, okay. Well, I won't promise anything, but we can go and look and see what's available. My wife gave me a look like, have you lost your mind? But we got dressed and we all headed out to look at mobile homes. Now, because it was Sunday, most of the mobile home dealers were closed. However, there was one open, and that's where we ended up. As we got out of the car, Sarah said, I can almost buy one myself. My credit score's 526. Note, I've forgotten the actual number she gave, but it was in the 520s. Knowing Sarah, I was sure that number was at least 50 points higher than her actual score. Evidently, Sarah and Paul had been to this dealership the day before. They already had a home picked out, and they were familiar with the salesman. The sales guy greeted us and led us into the trailer they were interested in. It was a spacious double wide with several upgrades. The asking price was $86,000. After we finished checking it out, we were standing in the kitchen talking to the salesman. Salesman, we checked your credit yesterday, and even with a cosigner, you'd have to put down at least 20%. Paul, looking thoughtful, oh, that's not too bad. That's only about $800. We can swing that. I should have mentioned that Paul's not exactly a mathematical genius. Me. No, that's $17,200. Paul. Oh, crap. Me. Yeah, oh, crap. The salesman further advised them that even with the down payment and a cosigner, the interest rate would be insane. They really needed someone to sign as the sole borrower. At this point, my wife's looking at me and not so subtly shaking her head. Also, it was not lost on me that the last guy who'd done this for them was in a cemetery somewhere. So, because I'm an idiot, I offered them a deal. Me. Okay, the bank won't repossess your current trailer for a few months yet. You say you make enough money to make the payment on this new trailer. Take that money along with your upcoming income tax rebate and any other excess funds you have and put it into an account to which we both have access. Neither of us will be able to withdraw the money without the other's signature. If you'll do that until the bank repossesses the other trailer, and you can use that money for a down payment, and I'll sign the loan. You would have thought I'd hit her in the head. She was angry, she called me all sorts of unchristian names and insulted my parentage, which was pretty ironic if you think about it. Anyway, she was not interested in my offer, which was good since my wife later told me that if I'd agreed to sign that loan, she would have divorced me. Dodged 2 bullets there. Of course, I was almost sure she wouldn't take the deal. It was obvious she was exaggerating their financial situation. Heck, she'd just bummed out mother's groceries. But wait, there's more. That Christmas, I gave my wife a new car. When Sarah found out, she hit the roof. She told Mama that the only reason I'd bought my wife the car was so that I wouldn't be able to buy her a house. She also said that for what he paid for that car, he could have bought me a house. Not quite true. But wait, there's more. After the first year, I went over to make her a last offer. I told her that I'd go to the bank and offer to buy the current trailer for $10,000. This was far less than they owed, but more than the thing was worth. I'd spoken with the bank and was pretty sure they'd agree to the price. I also told her that she'd have to pay me back. Sarah. I don't want this trailer. One of the walls has holes in it and the roof leaks. Me. Okay, suit yourself. I left. Shortly after the last bit there, she found religion and bought an old beat-up double-wide trailer from a member of her new church. The church member charged her almost nothing for it, but Sarah still had to borrow the money to pay for it from our mother. And our last story. It's a free lake, isn't it? This happened a couple of years ago at my parents' cottage. This cottage community used to be pretty sparsely populated and felt pretty remote back in the 60s when my dad was a kid. These days, it's completely built up and feels more like a subdivision with water between the houses instead of roads. A sunny summer Saturday can get really busy. My dad, however, still likes to go up there for a quiet, relaxing experience, something that's still only kind of possible because their place is on a tiny little island to itself. Lots of boats go by out in the open water, but they don't come in close, so it's not much of a bother. Then one day, as my parents, myself, and one of their friends are sitting on the dock enjoying a quiet drink as afternoon turns to evening, they see 2 fishermen in a pontoon boat pull around the point of the island, trolling along the waterline. This happens sometimes. It isn't a big deal so long as people are respectful. These 2 were not. As they get closer and closer to the dock, it becomes clear they just don't give a crap. They end up trolling right by the dock, and I mean right by it, like 5 or 6 feet. They're just laughing, drinking, and smoking, completely oblivious to our stunned silence right beside them. After the initial shock wore off, my dad stands up and says, "A little close, aren't you, fellas?" Tweedledee just sneers at him, gives him the finger, and yells, "It's a free lake, isn't it?" By this point, they're already trolling past, getting further away from the dock. My dad was pretty annoyed, but that could have been the end of it. That is, until Tweedledum decided that he would throw his empty beer bottle into the lake. Now my dad likes his privacy, but he loves the natural beauty of the Canadian North. One time when we were young and stupid, my brother, myself, and a bunch of our friends were pretty drunk and decided it'd be smart to throw our empties at a nearby rock outcropping to see if we could hit it. Surprise, we could. And we had some really idiotic drunken fun until my dad came down and unleashed a fury upon us, the likes of which I had never seen. Long story short, we spent the next week or so picking shards of broken glass out of those rocks by hand. When Tweedledum threw the bottle in the lake, my dad became committed to his petty revenge. Without a word, he walked over to our big steel boat, untied it, and hopped in. I jumped in at the last minute just to make sure he didn't get his butt kicked or something. But to my surprise, he didn't go over there to give them a piece of his mind. He just adjusted the speed and trim of his boat to make the biggest waves possible and started driving circles around them. Pontoon boats are pretty nifty, but they aren't exactly seafaring vessels designed for big waves. They got absolutely swamped. Not to mention the fright it must have given any nearby fish. They were yelling and cursing at us, waving their arms for us to slow down. After a few more circles, my dad slowed down enough to hear them. "What the F, man? F off!" My dad just smiled at them. "Hey, it's a free lake, isn't it?" They just grumbled, flipped us off again, and took off. We followed them for a bit, but once they were a kilometer or so from our island, we peeled off and went home to enjoy the rest of our evening in peace. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.